Yvonne Laruni, a program manager for Good Schools Are Raising Voices, to help us unpack the link between violence and mental health among learners and what can be done to prevent these challenges early. Good evening, Yvonne. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here.
This conversation is timely. It comes at a time when we have had very absurd cases lately of young children committing suicide, very young children below the age of 12. And the question is, some people have linked some of these cases to violence. What is the link between violence and mental health?
So there's a very strong relationship between violence and mental health. It's a relationship of cause and effect, that, you know, violence can actually cause mental health problems. And sometimes mental health problems can put a child in a vulnerable position where they experience violence. And then most times this is a vicious cycle that continues. So a child is experiencing violence, and then it affects how they are behaving, it affects how they are responding, it affects how they are performing in class. And because of that, then again they experience more violence because they are not performing well in class. And the cycle keeps continuing and continuing. So in this work of preventing violence against children that we've been doing as Raising Voices, we are really emphasizing the need to prevent violence if we want to contribute to the mental well-being of our learners.
Okay, and we've also realized that most of these cases are now happening in school. Yes. Dormitories, swimming pools, school latrines. So do you think that teachers can solely handle mental health issues when it comes to this? Or what do you think parents should be able to bring on the table as well? Because I believe it's for the entire stakeholders.
Yes, so everyone has a role to play. Parents and teachers too. And you know, we need to remember that teachers are already carrying a lot of burden upon themselves doing this work. So while teachers can help to create an enabling environment that can promote the mental well-being of others and also be like the first response for children experiencing mental health challenges, there is need for the professionals to really handle the concerns on mental health. That is why ministry has established a guideline requiring that all schools should have a counselor. So teachers are overwhelmed. They may not be able to handle, especially the clinical, you know, those that require professional interventions, but they can create an environment. They can create a safe environment. They can create good relationships. They can help their learners thrive. And by doing that, they are preventing the challenges from escalating to the extent that the learners will then need a medical intervention. So it is a yes and no answer, but teachers solely cannot handle that. So parents do need to get involved. Because when you look at, for example, some of the causes, aside violence, children will say things like domestic violence. When they see their parents fighting, it affects how they feel at school. Children will talk about things like being sent home for school fees, you know, all the time. They'll talk about the sexual violence they experience in their communities. So teachers cannot address that. So it's a collective effort for all of us.
Then there is an issue of children's rights versus culture. Like the parents, while we're interacting with some parents, realize that they're saying, but culture, this is culture. They have to listen to us. We have to whip them. But then there are rights of children. Where does society draw the line?
So parents have the power as parents they have the responsibility over the children, but you know, this responsibility should be used in a positive way. It should be used to nurture, it should be used to build esteem, it should be used to help children navigate day-to-day challenges. It should not be used to repress, to oppress, and to deny children their voice and an expression. So you have the right as a parent, but how you use this right is what will either help this child or it will instead cause problems to the child. So when it comes to culture and all that, we cannot deny that indeed the parents have the responsibility. They have the role, they have mandate, but let them use it in a positive way that is nurturing, enriching, and helpful to the child.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you for joining me this evening and at least giving us a